dear Dhamma friends, we have taken this particular sutta known as Girimananda Sutta, and day by day we have taken each perception, and gradually we have come to the 9th one. It is talking about Sabba Sankharesu Anicca Sanya, that is what appeared in the books, but it must be corrected as Anicca Sanya. So that is also kind of accepted version in the Burmese books. So first of all we have to get the clarification regarding this literal matter. If I am to translate the meaning of Sabba Sankharesu Anicca Sanya, that is to say, it is the impermanent or impermanence in all the conditioned phenomena. So, impermanent notion. So, this is the very first one we started. And if it is anicca, if you have to accept anicca, it is a kind of a repetition in the same particular discourse to consider all the conditioned phenomena is impermanent. Instead of the other version is anicca, that means the wishlessness or desirelessness towards the conditional phenomena. So when you are writing the word anicca, anicca, that is impermanent, nicca, the opposite of nicca, comes as anicca. But here the alternative is anicch, long a, anicca. That means no wish, no desire, or desirelessness or wishlessness. So therefore, whatever it may be, when and where a conditioned phenomena or fabrication or any reaction or any assumption happens, not only one be mindful on the then and there arising conditioned phenomena, but the clear comprehension is there not to accommodate it, not to develop desire towards that, and for that there should have a certain amount of security, certain amount of perception, and that is according to the second alternative meaning. So this is kind of a advanced meditation when and where some mental formations or conditioned phenomena or any fabrication happens. If someone comes to know what must his or her attitude towards one's own reactions, one's own assumption, one's own fabrication, one's own proliferating of thoughts according to these conditioned phenomena, there only you must not appreciate it. Instead you must develop the notion to repel it and humiliate it and to discuss it. That is to attiyati, harayati, jagucchati. So this is, one can say, whenever you are developing a celibate life or renunciate life or mendicant life, when the further you develop, further you advance, further you season your mindfulness, natural security going to happen. Not only that, you try your best not to react or not to assume and not to fabricate or not to make prolific thinking, even due to the momentum or due to the past habits or due to your likings and disliking, such a thing happen. You try your best develop the desirelessness or wishlessness, or to repel it, or to humiliate it, or to disgust it. This is the difference between the sensuous being. Is always try to develop his or her version or reaction or assumption, and claiming that I have this and that, promoting it and ultimately taken for a ride, ultimately leading to the transgressional kind of gross activity or obsessional kind of condition in the mind, namely the frustration or tension, and the underlying tendencies are becoming more and more rich, more and more established, more and more firm. But when someone is practicing mindfulness, maybe in sitting or maybe in walking meditation or in the day-to-day activities, one can see, even though one determined to not to entertain any reaction, any assumption or any fabrications, this is happening due to the momentum. When and where it comes to know what must be one's behavior, what must be one's restrainment or attitude towards that. The best example for this particular discipline or disciplinary side of your behavior, you can read in the last discourse in the Majjhima Nikaya, middle in saying, known as Indriya Bhavana Sutta. In the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, it is very in detail with lot of examples. The Buddha teach it. If someone really wish to restrain, not only at the ethical level or transgressional level, but even at the obsessional level, and further this restrainment directly or indirectly to the underlying tendencies. So let me explain a little bit of the background of that particular discourse. During the time of the Buddha, one disciple of another sect, Parasarya Brahmana, his disciple have kind of respect to the Buddha. So while the Buddha and the Venerable Ananda was in a discussion, he come and pay respect to the Buddha and take a side and sat down. Then as an appreciation of his arrival to the Buddha is asking, recognizing him, he is a disciple of Venerable Parasarya, another sect. Does your teacher also admonish or teach discipline or restrainment of your faculties? And then he says, yes, Bhante. Verily, my teacher also appreciate and admonish and give instructions to restrain one's own faculties. And then the Buddha says, would you mind to share with us how your teacher is prescribing the restrainment? Then he says, my teacher always instructs us not to look pictures, not to listen to sounds, and not to smell, not to taste, and not to have desirable tactile sensation. So we try our best to reduce seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tactile sensations. Then the Buddha turned into the Venerable Ananda and say, Ananda, if someone is believing this kind of a restrainment and wish to be very skillful, a blind person is much better off because he never see anything. So he may be complete in the restrainment. And the deaf and all the other disabled people are better off. Isn't it? And while telling that particular visitor, accept it, and he lowered down his head and he stopped. And then the Buddha says, in our noble discipline, Ananda, this is not the way the Tathagata is teaching and prescribing the restrainment. And occasionally in the human, the evolution, Tathagata arises and he himself also give restrainment. Then taking the opportunity, Venerable Ananda go forward and pay respect, prostrate, and said, Bhante, please give us the teaching of the Tathagata, how to restrain oneself. And that is the first episode in this drama. And then the Buddha admonished Venerable Ananda, if it is so, Ananda, listen carefully, attentively. I am going to teach you the restrainment of faculties in this noble discipline. And then he says, the beginner, when and where he is about to see something, soon a visual object come and impinge in his eye sensitivity, the consciousness go and support, and he become a seer. And immediately what happened is, due to this the seeing operation, a desirable, undesirable or neutral kind of impression happened to him. Or what I see is desirable or undesirable or neutral. When and where he comes to know this is my fabrication, this is my assumption, this is my reaction, he try to contemplate that particular thing happened, the reaction happened. It's known as sankata, that is fabrication. Olarikam paticca sampanna sankata. It is something arose here and now. And it's very obvious for any person, when and where seeing happens in the effective way, that must be a desirable object or undesirable, or your feeling is neutral. So that particular person, on the spot, red-handed, can understand that one's own reaction, and it's a paticca. It is due to the causes that effect happens, due to seeing a desirable thing, he developed the desirability, or seeing repulsive thing, he developed the undesirability or neutral. So therefore arising or arousal, arising of this then and there phenomena, and it's very gross, it is a cause and effect relationship, and knowing that he tried to keep the stream of consciousness pure by reciting etan santang etan panitang yadidang upekha. Just before this arising of the desirable or undesirable feeling or neutral feeling, my mind was in the neutral state. Stream of consciousness was neutral. Then it is peaceful, it is sublime, the mind, when it is in equanimity. So therefore he never go ahead and proliferate on this desirable impression or undesirability or neutral. Instead he bring back attention to the early state, that is neutral, that is not bias, not desirable, not undesirable, a neutral state. This is the way he try his best when he is meditating, or when he is contemplating, or when he is mindful. For example, we have taken the example of walking meditation. In the path, walking path, when you try your best to keep the noting when and where you operate the left leg, you note it as left leg. Whenever right leg, you notice as right leg. And whatever the left leg, right leg, you note and experience the hardness, softness, cooler, warmer, heavy, lighter. All these things give kind of a neutral feeling. In the sense we can say boring. In the sense we can say monotonous feeling. So still you consider this as a mindfulness, momentum of the mindfulness. You try to keep as much as possible, even though it is neutral, more and more shapes, more and more manners, more and more natural characteristic of the left leg and right leg. But whenever he goes to the corner and about to take a turn, this trend break. His posture, the walking posture, change into the turning posture, or sometimes standing posture. Whenever this posture junction happens, your attention from your sensitivity of your leg may jump into seeing may jump into hearing or may jump into the other parts of the body. Therefore, your mindfulness will be threatened. And you may be seeing the visual object may be very desirable. For example, when you are in here, you may see the indigenous animals, butterflies, birds, or flowers, or plant. Immediately you get attracted, so the desire can happen. Or if something bad you are about to see, undesirable or neutral feeling can happen. And if you are sharp in mindfulness, you know my consciousness jump from the body sensitivity to the eye sensitivity. Earlier I was a walker, now I am a seer. This seeing will continue, will take you for a ride as far as you are promoting your desirable impression or undesirable. If it is neutral, easy for you to come back to the primary object. But if it is extreme desirable or extremely undesirable, naturally you succumb to this wandering thoughts, entertaining visual objects. And if one day, due to a repetitive application of mindfulness, you may come to know, now I am no more in walking meditation, I am not noting the left leg and right leg. Instead, verily absorb into this visual object, and that is being magnetized because it is very desirable or undesirable. And if you are to recognize that state red-handed and to see, the instruction the Buddha given is Tanchako sankatang olarikam padicca sampumpannang etan santang etan panitang yadjang upekha. This reaction, this assumption, desirability or undesirability, it's then and there arising. It's very obvious, very gross if you are sharp enough. That is why you are not happy with the left leg and the right leg or turning posture. Instead, this desirability of the visual object is more prominent and gross, and it is cause and effect relationship. But you are more vulnerable, more and more defilements can happen, because each and every fabrication creating karmic volitional or karmic force, so you have to pay. The best thing is to go back to the right leg and the left leg. That is again stream of consciousness back to the neutral, etan santang, etan panitang. It is peaceful, it is sublime, as far as mind is with mindful with left leg and the right leg. So your effort is understanding the danger to bring back the attention to the neutral feeling. Even though it is not attractive, it gives the security, no defilements. So this is a kind of effort not to arouse unarisen defilements by your restrainment with your early trial and error method and due to the force or powerful mindfulness. And this is how the most subtle form of restrainment taking place. And it needs so much of conducive conditions, surroundings, and patience to do trial and error. And when it is happening, he knows, even though challenges are there, dangers are there, the danger or challenge will not make any destructive thing unless otherwise you let this desire or undesirability to take you for a ride. Therefore you develop no wish, no desire for the desirable feeling. Instead take refuge of your early neutral feeling, neutral experience of right leg and the left leg. So this is what the beginner or the person who is in the early stages develop. And this is how instructions are, in the sense, or whenever instructions are well understood, this must be your attitude in the posture junctions. Whatever may be, for example, you can say when the mind is changing from the in-breath to out-breath, there is a kind of a junction. When it's changing from out-breath to in-breath, it's a junction. Whenever rising and falling happens, in between there's a junction. In between there are chances, more chances for the mind to wander off. More chances for the mind to daydream, fantasize. So, when and where it happens, the driving force is desirability or undesirable nature of that astray thought or wandering thought. So, your responsibility to recognize it and bring the attention back to the primary object, because it is peaceful, because it is sublime, because it is neutral. So when and where you become mature, when and where your mind become advanced, or once you go on into the Aryan sphere, then your mind set under such circumstances. Buddha give a different episode. He says that Aryan person, that instructed person, then prepared person, he goes and in the posture junction still succumb to the visual objects, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and still the desirability and undesirability and neutral impressions are arising. When and where he is to pick, he is very quick now, and he has been skillful due to the early practice, then he attiyati, harayati, jagucchati, same terminology Buddha explained. When and where he comes to know my mind is in between the in-breath and out-breath, it is jumping to wandering thoughts, or become disturbed by a sound, or pain. Accordingly, that secondary object going to give a desirability or undesirability or neutral, and he never appreciated. He developed wishlessness of the deviation of your stream of consciousness. He repelling it, he humiliated it, and he disgusted. That is the way he has developed his internal security system. Soon the reaction recognized, soon the assumption recognized, soon the fabrication recognized, soon the mental proliferation recognized. He never promote it. He never talk about that. He never enter into that. Instead develop a repellence, humiliation, and the disgust. Unless otherwise you develop this kind of attitude, your inner chatter will never stop. This is a very good sign. Whatever you are talkative, whatever you are gossiping, always is this unwanted muck. Keep on talking about mistakes. But here he or she understand, still even though my mind is resting, it is jumping to the desirability and undesirability. Don't talk about that. Don't enter into that. Don't appreciate that. Instead, attiyati, harayati, jagucchati, you repel it. You disgust it. You humiliate it and take refuge of your primary object. This is the second time you are making use the primary object as your bunker in a warfare, or a bulletproof car in an open public meeting. You go back to the primary object, not that it is desirable, not that it is fantasy, but that is to only give you a security. So therefore, when and where you know how to make use the primary object and not to talk about the wandering thing, fantasizing, daydreaming, and instead today there are Nobel Prizes for fantasizing. There are Magsaysay prizes for this kind of creative thinking and writing poems, writing literature, and everyone think that daydreaming, fantasizing is something special for me. I am a gifted person, and this is how the gossiping and everything happen. So this is how the commoner, uninstructed, unskillful person and the instructed, skillful person behave. They are exactly the same thing you find in the Girimananda sutta appear as a set of instructions for, or the way the Aryans are behave, he or she still have wandering thoughts, still succumb to the daydreaming, fantasizing, but don't talk about them. Make a determination not to enter into that, not to proliferate it, not to appreciate it, not to talk about that. Instead, see how quickly soon comes to know that I am in dangerous situation or beyond my jurisdiction, how fast, how efficiently bring the attention back to the primary object, and that is the best literature the Buddha appreciate. That never give any proliferation, that never give any kind of the fantasizing. You take refuge of your primary object and come back the attention. For that, the attitude is anicca. Anicca means wishlessness or desirelessness for varietal entertainment. Whenever varietal entertainment happens due to the boredom of your primary object, or monotony of the primary object, uncertainty of the primary object, you have to have the what to do, what is the next, what to do the next, what is the utmost restrainment of your faculty, that is attiyati, harayati, jagucchati. You repel it, you humiliate it, you disgust it, and bring the attention to the primary object. So the Buddha mentioned in his teaching, specifically in the Itivuttaka Pali, Dve me bhikkave desana tathagatassa desana paryayena bhavanti katama dve achyang acceto passata ayam patama dhamma desana achyang acceto disva tatta attiyati harayati jagucchati virajati. That ayam dutya dhamma desana. The Buddha teach Dhamma in a double-fold manner. What is that? First and foremost thing is diagnosis. Know the mistake as the mistake. Stop at that level and see, I am supposed to do walking meditation. I am supposed to sit and do in-breath and out-breath. And a thought came, sound came, or pain came, and that is now I am no more with the primary object, and verily, red-handed, he or she knows, now I am with fantasizing, daydreaming, and wondering, or seeing, or hearing. That is understanding, that is understanding of 50% of teaching of the Buddha. It is not a mistake. It is the great discovery, that is the diagnosis. Buddha says, I can't do it for you. Your parents can't do it for you. Your teacher can't do it for you. There is no any blessing, no snare, no black magic. You have to understand that is 50% of my teaching. So many disciplinarians completely misunderstand this. They think understanding mistake is a mistake. But the Buddha says understanding of the mistake is 50% of your practice, 50% of his teaching. So therefore it is you are bound to meet up with difficulties, wandering thoughts, daydreaming, fantasizing. You never get the package without daydreaming, fantasizing and wandering thought in the Buddha to come Maitreya Buddha. Many Sri Lankans are waiting till the next Buddha to happen. They will get the package so that there won't be any thinking, no wandering thoughts. So that day I may found very easy way, highway to the teaching of the Buddha. So they accumulate other number of merits in order to reborn in the next Buddha's time, thinking they will get a different package. But the Buddha says here, even the Aryans, even if you are well-instructed, well-restrained person, even your mind is wandering. It is not the defilement. You know you are supposed to be here, but it is not. So therefore, this very understanding is the first and foremost. Pandita Sadhu not directly telling. He says, if you can report it, it is almost like Nibbana. understanding, Bhante, I am, while practicing, I am practicing in breath, rising and falling. While I am noting rising, my mind wandered off. And it was the past thought. And I verily understood. And I bring back to the, again, rising and falling. Again, when I am noting, when and where the mind is with rising, this is the nature of rising. When and where it is with the falling, this is the characteristic of falling. And when and where it is wandered off, verily you report, what did you see? What is your impression? It is not a mistake, and it is a very irony to say, reporting rising mode as rising happen and not, it is you get the general mark. But when the mind is wandering and still you note, and if you can report, you get higher marks. That is the sporty nature. You not only keep the mind in the track with the rising and falling, and that is also you are reporting as it is, and even if it is wandering off, daydreaming, fantasizing, anything happen, you report it as a second person. Not like my mind is wandering. You say in the rising mode, I found the wandering mind. It wandered off past, future, other person, other places, or fantasizing. So when and where you report it, that's a kind of a restrainment. That restrainment takes a lot of time, and then only it is going to give the second part of the teaching of the Buddha. That is, the second part is Achyang accheto disva tat nibbindati virajyati vimucchati. Soon the mind comes to know that it is in the dangerous place, that it is body knowledge, universal knowledge. Your mind naturally comes back to the secret place. So that is the second part. That is the endowment. That's the gift you get. For that you must understand when and where mind is transgressing, thread passing your security zone, jurisdiction, and go on to the other side, knowing that now I am vulnerable, now I am in danger. I am not developing any kind of a desire or wish to wander off from the security zone. And bring him back is the second part. So many are putting the cart before the horse. They are quickly thinking about how to recover the mind rather than diagnosing the situation. Then never you will do it. Because you have a wrong notion, you have a wrong perception. Diagnosing of the wrong thing is a wrong thing. This is not what the Buddha is teaching. Your diagnostic capacity, you have to promote it. You have to facilitate it. Very diagnosing, telling that I am in a vulnerable place. I am supposed to do in rising and falling and sitting. Instead I am thinking or listening, daydreaming, fantasizing, and you know verily it is happening. So this is how you have to develop the perception, and then and there you to see, instead of being here with rising and falling or in-breath and out-breath, it is fantasizing, daydreaming. That is a kind of a imitation, that's a kind of a fabrication, that is kind of a difference that you do due to your ignorance, due to your lack of mindfulness, due to lack of clear comprehension. If you are promoting it, if you develop wishfulness, may I get up and go and listen this music, or may I get up and go and see this picture, that is if that is the desire, that is what called you are making more and more volitional activities, so much of defilements can come in. Put it in another event in the society at large. Youngsters, male or female, they are not happy with their nature. They are always facelifting, beautification and plastic surgery. Keep on decorating, keep on doing, and ultimately you don't understand how much you must have the desire and wish for this fabricated shape and the decorated face shape and the beautificated shape. that is completely driven by sense desire. And not only that, you have driven, any person you are to see, each and everyone will caught up with the sense desire. The amount of defilements you are creating, immeasurable. Instead, if you be happy with whatever may be your shape, whatever may be your natural way, that is what going to give the neutral feeling and the healthy mind and the religious mind. So therefore in Zen Buddhism, they say even the dog has the Buddha nature. The dog has the dog nature. It is not try to imitate like a monkey. It is not even going to imitate like anything. It is not happy to cutting off his tail. Dogs never do it, but the raring person, bloody dog, is cutting and decorating it, and they feel proud. So this is the way you create unwanted suffering. And if you wish sabba sankharesu anicca sanya, you will accept your true nature. And that is called deconditioning. That is called de-learning. Most difficult thing, the against misperception. This going against misperception, and in that sense you can understand recognition and diagnostic part of your misconception is almost like Buddha. Very difficult. Because you are always looking at you through this tinted glass. You are looking at the favorable this thing, that you are always fabricating, always assuming, and therefore you fail to understand your own assumptions, your own fabrication, your own decoration, your own imitation, and for that only we need true person, noble friends, association with that kind of a true to type people, and that is external society at large, internally the mindfulness. Mindfulness is like a reflector. It's a plain reflector. It is just showing the image of your natural shape. In the West, they have done an experiment. They created a mirror by adjusting the knobs. You can make it concave or convex. And ask the person to go there in front of the mirror and adjusting to your true image. Those who are inferiority make their image big by adjusting the mirror, say, I am so and so, this is bigger than what I am. And the people with the superiority complex, they make the image lesser than what they are. No one can adjust the mirror to the plane, to the normal. No one knows who am I. Everyone is put up with. Everyone is either with the exaggerated psychology or shrink. Accordingly only thinking, talking, working, everything happen. So how much we must have to have the performance in front of a true person, in front of a noble person, to get a real reflection back. Very difficult. First and foremost thing is you must be ready to accommodate it. You must be humble enough to see your true nature. And for that, you can't demand from the others. You have to behave in such a way the other person will give the real impression without exaggerating, without shrinking. And that is exactly the mental factor within you is the mindfulness. That is we call choiceless awareness, evenly suspended attention, and repetitive observation. Then only you can understand what a life we are doing. We are always in someone's role. And West wanted to have a Superman, and they are always created the philosophy with the Superman. And even now it is there. And in the Eastern countries, the spiritual man, the long hair and the beard with the white clothes, and they have a stick and all the kind of, that is their image. So this is always, we are chasing behind the carrot. We donkeys always chasing behind the carrot. And our politicians, our economists, And our social people, they know how to put a carrot and make ourselves donkeys. And that is what we call the fashion. That's what we call the trends in the world. So Buddha says, decondition, de-learn and try to be yourself. For that you must have sabba sankharesu. Don't do any imitation. Any imitation is a limitation. And you have to learn how is the dog is behaving. Dog has the Buddha nature. Well, I have my own nature. So therefore, when and where you try to be civilized, when and where you try to be gentle, when and where you try to be social, you are no more natural. So Sigmund Freud recognized at the last part of his life the ambiguity of civilization. Imagine the we human learn this wearing clothes, hiding your shameful places. And before we become civilized, it was not much of a case. And you see the irony is Sri Lanka, the very country we are living, completely depend on the agricultural basis. We were growing tea, rubber, coconut. They were the main income. Now you know what is the main income? The garment industry. People changing their fashion so quickly, so therefore garment industry make the biggest income. So completely we have changed from the agricultural base to this show-off base. So much in the country. So likewise, when and where you try to shape the garments and the fashions and kind of thing, and you don't know it is something artificial. Before we become socialized, or when we were in the forest, like Vedda or in the barbarics, we just had some kind of a leaf or skin or something like that, and we have least amount of tension. Now we have a lot of clothes, lot of tension. And imagine now your whole clothes removed in front of a society, what will be your mentality? Finished. Well, it was not the case. Before you up to the age 6, even if your clothes removed, mother will get ashamed, but not you. So much of tension we are living in the society because we are living on others' eyes. We never try to be ourselves. The Buddha is directly telling, hey darling, try to be yourself. Then no tension. When and where no tension, that is you have to understand the true nature. When and where the tension, you have to understand you are no more your true nature. You are something to become a Superman or spiritual being. Ultimately, you are chasing behind the carrot. That is what you call the imitation. And Buddha says, as far as this imitation concerned, repel them, humiliate them, disgust them. Try to be here and now. Try to be to your true nature. And that is the ultimate or subtlest form of your restrainment. So it is impossible, because we are being taught from the 6 to the prime age of our time, you must be like this, you must be like this, and we are in double action or whatever may be the roles, and try to behave according to the circumstances. Ultimately you have no chance you to be yourself. In the Pollyanna, the novel, the Pollyanna, the young girl, I don't know whether you are familiar with it, but it's worth to read it. Taken to the auntie's house, and aunt is such a regimented woman, no children, unmarried, and she give a timetable to the Pollyanna after the breakfast. Then Pollyanna is listening so sharp. He says, this time for the learning music, this time for the breakfast, this was the lunch and stitching and all the kind of... Then the Pollyanna, auntie, I have no time to live. Everything regimented. Then the auntie says, what? I am telling you, every time is now fixed. I have no time to live. Imagine when you go back home. Who fix your timetable? Your bloody, the image. I must do this and that, and you feel how nice if it is, if I can get 25 hours a day instead of 24. With so much of duties. Each and everything is assumed unless otherwise you are mindful. Mindful thought moment is the only thought moment you are natural, and you find you have no time to become mindful. Very busy. No chance to be mindful. Therefore, Bhante, per day how many hours I must practice meditation? It's a very literal question. So I would say 25 hours. What else? Because we have invariably different tasks. We have put forth on our shoulders and pulling like buffaloes, pulling like draft animals. And it says from the Sunday morning to the Friday evening, the amount of thinking that you have for the overtime and the duties and kind of thing, more than a draft animal. And Saturday and Sunday, you are very religious, going to the church and all the kind of thing, and Sunday morning again, start draft. So Buddha feels so sorry for these donkeys behind the carrot. And he says, just try to be yourself. When and where mind is going to go for this imitation, so the beautification, facelifting, plastic surgery, decorations, everything, understand, just learn to repel it, or humiliate it, or disgust it. Then only you have become true to type. And imagine the life of a monk. Of course, there are some monks, they have beauty parlors at their monasteries. That is also a truth. But when and where you live true to type, live on the ground, and depending on the other people, you will never see. Buddha says it is more than the king or on this whole earth, the leaf-turning monarch. But the monk's life is such a beautiful thing, but bloody monks are made up with such a difficulty. Even after becoming a monk, they become so much of regimentation. One thing is the disciplinarian, other part is patriotism, all the kind of thing making. So, where the Buddha? No place for Buddha to sit. No place for Dhamma to work. So therefore, whether you are lay or the monk, never mind. Whenever sankhara come into being, imitation come into being, reaction come into being, assumption come into being, spot them as and when it arises, but don't think it is a mistake. Don't think it is your own mistake. It's a humanity. It is due to the civilization. It is due to the conditioning. It is due to the teaching. And de-learning and deconditioning, you have to, on the spot, you have to spot it. That's a 50% of your teaching. And once it is seen, the Buddha says, Janato bhikkhave passato asavanam khayang vadami. No ajanato, no apassato. O monk, your tendencies, cankers will never be ceased to exist unless otherwise you see and unless otherwise you know it. If you do not see and do not know, never it happens. So therefore, even if you are meditating, even if you are successful meditating, so to say, if you do not wish to see your mistakes, no go. It's just a wastage of time. That is what you call, you get bogged down in inner feelings or samatha kind of tranquility, are very happy and meditating. You never wish to see defilements, you never wish to see things as they are, you never wish to see the impermanent nature, suffering nature and the soullessness. You may claim as I am very happy and here and now, but the Buddha says just wastage of time. So more and more it is going out, no problem, it is a kind of a catharsis. It's a lot of ways you can understand who am I, what kind of a tendencies I have, what kind of trends in my mind. So you must let it happen, and like a CIA person, chase behind it, and note it when and where it is happening. Like a secret agent. Mindfulness is a secret agent. It has no any executive powers like a uniform police person to grab the fellow. He just understands where the mind is going there, what are the tendencies, what are the likings and disliking, what is my personality traits. Only you comes to know when and where the mind is wandering. If you are not happy to understand it, if you are not ready to see it, not that you are promoting, not that you have any wish to do it, but that is the only thing happen. So therefore, even after you become Sotapanna or Aryan, still the same thing happen. The Ratana Sutta, it says, Yang kinchi kammang karoti papakang, kayena vacha uda chetasava, abhabbo sotassa patichadaya, abhabbata ditta padassa vutta. This is talking about the noble being. Within him also, there may be physical misdeeds, verbal misdeeds, and the mental misdeeds. Only thing is, he can't hide it. Because his light of mindfulness is so powerful, whenever he find it, he just tell to another meditator or the celibate person, please brother, it happened to me like this and this. So he declare it in order to make your stream of consciousness more pure. So the unethical person or person without a restraint always try to hide. So when I was in Panditarama, there was one person, he wrote a book known as The Saint and the Psychopaths. And he made a list, the psychopath, a lot of traits are there. The last thing he would do is confession, accepting the truth. The noble person, first and foremost thing is confession and the acceptance of the truth. So therefore you can understand who is the psychopath and who is the saint person. Saint, they have their own fair share of the mistakes, but you never hide it. You never brood upon them and declare it, so that more and more your stream of consciousness will be pure and equanimous and equipoise, because when and where such a thing happen, you try to repel it, when to humiliate it and discuss this. That is what called sabba sankaresu anicca sanya. You have no any desire or desireless or wishless. So therefore you have to make use invariably other co-practitioners. Without that you can't do it. Whenever you do something, it has some social bearing. So therefore the other person or other co-practitioners must be in a generous way to tell you without exaggeration, this is the thing I have seen you, these physical misdeeds, verbal misdeeds and the mental misdeeds. This is my duty, I am like a reflector, please be aware. And internally the mindfulness come and let you know. So both of them must be go hand in hand. That's why in each and every, at the end of every chapter in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha says, iti ajjatang va kaye kayanupassi virati, bahiddha va kaye kayanupassi virati, ajjatta bahiddha va kaye kayanupassi virati. Whenever mistake happen, you internally through your mindfulness also comes to know the wandering mind, daydreaming, fantasizing. Whenever it is transgressed, your brother will come to know. And you go and confess it and get their advice. So you have to do internal, external, and now internal, external mixture. That is how the refinement can take place. So therefore your self-critical nature, not destructive one, it's a constructive one. And you use the other mendicants as a reflector, your mindfulness as a reflector. So don't break the reflector thinking they are the bloody fillers are reflecting, otherwise I will be a saint. No. It is the matter, you have to accept it. So this broadening gives so much of resistance or immunity. You trust upon all the other meditators, you trust only the mindfulness and try to, any amount of mistakes, no problem. As far as you have the bookkeeping. The mindfulness is always keep the book. So the bookkeeping, you will never see good things. Please don't. Only you see mistakes. Physical, verbal and mistake. That means you are in your wound, pus is coming out. More and more it is coming out, more and more it is healing. It is called catharsis. So if you are a psychopath, you will be hiding it and try to put up yourself as a saint and the Superman. But if you are a noble person, you use everyone's interaction to refine yourself, for that the notion or the perception is Sabba sankharesu anicca sanya. Any imitation, any assumption, any reaction, you use the commentaries as a reflector or mindfulness as reflector. When and where it is happening, you early type, you try to bring back to the primary object. And when you mature enough, you know how to look at them in the repulsive way, in the humiliating way, and in the disgusting way. And once you become Arahant, the last episode the Buddha explained, even if you see a desirable thing, his clear comprehension is so seeing through, so sharp, he can see undesirable part of the same thing. Even if you see undesirable thing, you can see benevolent part or desirable part of the same thing. Still he try to see the complete picture. He never see the face value. The early two types, the beginner as well as the Aryan person, he just work with the face value, so he do not know how to arouse undesirability out of desirable thing. He do not know how to arouse desirability from the undesirable thing, because he is so caught up with the face value. But the Arahant, he can see through, even if it is a beautiful thing, he know it is a trap. He never entertain it. Even if it is a very repulsive thing, he say, this is what in me. Exactly the repulsive is in me. So therefore he use it in such a way, it is a kind of a magic the Arahants can do. So therefore restrainment of one's faculty is not by just mere not looking pictures. It is not by not listening to music or sounds, smell, taste, but stop seeing at the stop seeing. Don't proliferate. See things as they are and stop at the seeing level. Don't proliferate. Dittamatam bhavisati. Sute sutamatam bhavisati. You are listening, but don't let the mind to take you for a ride with fabrication and this thing. And muti mutamatam bhavisati. Smell, taste or touch. Let it be there. Don't proliferate it. Don't try to get rid of it. And stop at that level, and the consciousness must stop at the consciousness level. If that is the case, their inflicting nature is cut off. Not that the impingements you are cutting off, you are only concerned about their impression, their the assumption, their reaction, and because that is arising then and there. It is so gross, it is cause and effect relationship, and once you develop, you understand why other people are getting caught up in the argumenting and adamantation and fighting, quarreling, because they only see the face value. They fail, not only failing to see through, but they believe what they have seen is existing thing he can see. That is not the truth. So therefore, whenever you go on restraining, it must be in the physical level, verbal level and mental level. So, Indriya Bhavana Sutta, the last 152nd Sutta, is a very informative, and the relationship to that with this Girimananda Sutta is this 9th perception, where when and where mind take delight, that means desirability or undesirability. When and where mind is bored, that is way to Nibbana. That's the primary object. So therefore you have to fix your mind in a limited space once the variables are fixed, and try to keep it and diversify the same mindfulness from sitting to walking to day, and day to your from the meditation center, you're back at home, at the way of your life. Whatever it happens, don't let the impingements or don't let your reaction and assumptions try to control you as a remote controller. Then you are just a puppet. Then you are just a slave. Instead, understand there's a gap between this remote control and yourself, and when and where it is arising, try to repulse it, try to repel it, try to humiliate it, and try to disgust it. It is not kind of a destructive criticism. It's a kind of a constructive criticism. Ultimately, your mind will be more at the comfort zone, in the middle area, and that is the only place it can grow. That is how the healing, the immunity develops, and that is the crux of the teaching of the Buddha, to pass it to Venerable Girimananda through Venerable Ananda. So even after 2600 years later, we can test, we can put into practice and use it for mental and physical health. So hope this today talk also helpful for each and every one of you to entertain mental and physical health through this power of mindfulness. Thank you very much for listening.